everybody. Welcome to another edition of PoCommunity. I'm Mike Arboit, and I'm sitting here with my guest. His name is Earl Thomas, and he is a
voiceover artist.
Voiceover artist. There
Earl Thomas, the voice.
The voice. Yeah. So we've been talking for a while. When you came here and visited, probably last year sometime?
Yes, it was. Yeah, I got a grand tour.
Nice. So, I mean, obviously, that's a pretty fun industry to be in as a voiceover actor. Just an artist, right? You call yourself an artist? Is that what you would consider it?
Yes, I do. Yeah, because, there's a lot of ways you can go, as far as the tone and the inflection and all the different expressions that you can do.
Yeah. So what's your, I'll get right down to the nitty gritty. What's your favorite type of work to do? Is it like you worked in radio, you said?
Well, when I first started doing this, I thought, my voice is really mellow and I like to do, narration. But then when I found out there's what we call the hot sell, it's very hot, and you really pour the energy on, that is fun. Yeah. And I find, I get a script. I've been doing some auditioning for Universal Voice Talent and cartoon actors. And they put in there how many seconds it is. So I did this one, 39 seconds. And, in the next take, I got it down to 30. Yeah. So, you work at it to make sure you got the right inflection.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What kind of where have you done TV work? Have you done any cartoon work?
Well, interesting enough, I did have an agent at one time, and I did that was the best paycheck yet.
Yeah.
I was had my suit on. I was a lawyer getting this woman to sign. Yeah. I never got to see it. I tried to get to see it, but I think it appeared in Atlanta or in some network. But that was fun. I mean, because I did a lot of auditions to get that.
Oh, nice. So when did you realize that you wanted to do this for work?
Well, it goes a long way back. And, when I was really young, about 9 years old, my mom had sent my brother and I to the Victoria Road Gospel Chapel in Nanaimo. And they had a radio program. And they asked me to come in and voice the scripture. I don't know why. I didn't think at that age, I would have that prominent of a voice. But as we were doing it and waiting, I saw Gene McCormick having his live rock and roll radio show. And he was the Energizer Bunny 100 million times over. He was having a lot of fun. So I was introduced to radio. And every once in a while in my adult life, say I'd phone a doctor's office up and try to get an appointment. And, oh, by the way, have you been on radio before? And I said, no. And then I thought later, why would she ask that? And then when I was at Vancouver Bible College, they wanted somebody to do a narration for this cantata. And I went ahead and did it, and I enjoyed it, and it was easy, and got all these compliments. And so I had this thing in my mind. I didn't want to reach retirement with not knowing whether I could have made it in radio. So that's why I applied to BCIT. Actually, before that, I volunteered at SFU, it's a radio station, and for 2 years in the late 70s, and got a good taste of it. And then when I was working in a group home, I took a night school course on Tuesday nights, best part of the week, radio and TV announcing. And I really loved it. Then I applied for the day program. And you were talking about trying to get into BCIT. Yeah, there was it was tough. I had to pass this computer course and then the whole thing. But getting in there and just enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it's a renowned program. I know BCIT is just for that industry. This industry is it's the biggest names in the area in any kind of any kind of journalist or just broadcaster came from that school, it seems like. And I mean, it's an industry where you really got a lot of people have to travel. They have to kind of work in small towns before they get the gig they actually want. It's a grinding industry. People think it's just fun and you get to talk about what you want to talk about throughout the days. But no, you have to grate your teeth just like any other industry, right?
Exactly right. You have to start in the small towns unless you're lucky. Like a few people, like one person in particular, Dan Russell, he started the best radio talk show of sports,
Yeah.
out there in Richmond, coming right out of BCIT.
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of the sports guys. Like they were lucky enough. Some of them had to go out to like Alberta and stuff and do those like junior hockey and like almost like broadcasts or even like the game announcing. I know Don Taylor, I think, went to like he's like Red Deer or something like that's. But then lucky enough, got to come home and do sports page back in the day, and it's all gone from there, obviously. But it's
Yeah.
just I've heard nothing but just like props to that program at BCIT for people that want to get into the industry, but it's so demanding. So many people want in because it is looked at as a very fun industry to be in by people on the outside. But from what I understand, it can be very cutthroat on the inside. Like it can be very just the competition's there. There's a lot of people trying to get in on it.
Oh yeah, and then once you're in, you really work hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you really do. We did everything. Now it's more digital, but we were doing those things like cutting the tape and splicing it together so it edits really nice. And now it's so easy.
Yeah, click of a button.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's changed a lot. It's like you see, like our studio here. It's easier for us to make a studio, do it yourself, put it on YouTube. Back in the day,
Yeah.
nobody had this ability. You didn't have this equipment at an affordable price for people that are like doing it out of their houses. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like give us a little rundown. We were talking before. You said you worked in what was it, a junior hockey team?
Yes, the Grandview Steelers of the Pacific Coast Junior Hockey League.
So was that like play-by-play or was that?
No. That was the PA announcer.
Oh, nice. So whenever there was a goal or there was this like
Yeah, when they came out,
50-50.
I would introduce the
players coming out.
the players, but also to the O Canada.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So was that fun? Did you like doing that?
Yes, I did. Yeah, because it was so spontaneous, and sometimes nothing's happening for a while, like sometimes no penalties, no scores, and then sometimes it got really busy, like concurring penalties, so you're really focused, what he's calling. The referee comes over, you're writing it down and getting it all, and you're a team, of course, because you've got the guy who runs the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you into hockey too? Like, was it fun being able to watch every game pretty much? That's like
Yeah.
a guy that went to my high school is actually the current Sportsnet like play-by-play guy for the Canucks.
Oh.
He's a year younger than me, but that's like was his dream.
Brendan Batchelor?
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
he's excellent.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoy listening to him.
Yeah, he was. I guess it was his dream since he was a kid, and
Yeah.
it's a different guy. Play-by-play announcing. I couldn't imagine doing it.
It is hard because I had a short gig with the Coquitlam Junior Adanacs.
Yeah.
And it was tough because I was the only guy running all the operation. But then an experienced announcer that did for the Vancouver Stealth, Jake,
Yeah.
he came in and he decided he wanted to do the job. Well, he had so much experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a huge difference. Being able to talk constantly, know all the players, having to do your research before on the other teams. That's something. It's one thing to memorize your own team, but when you're having to do a game every second night and like basically study the whole league, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's an industry where a lot of people are like that. The guy get to talk about what they want, like get to watch hockey and talk about hockey all day. Well, it's a lot of work.
It's the toughest gig. Play-by-play is the toughest gig in all of announcing, in all of radio. It is really hard.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I come from the professional wrestling industry, so obviously that's a show. It's athletics mixed with dramatics, and that's another play-by-play. The guys that do well with it, a lot of them have been past wrestlers who either know the terminology that's happening in the ring, so the move sets, all that stuff, but also just the charisma. As a voice actor or just a voiceover artist, like how important is charisma? Like it must be super important.
Well, yeah. You've got to have that in your voice because every client has in their mind what he wants it to sound like, and when you hit it, so you just don't do a vanilla read. You've got to mark that script up and just get it all right. I understand there are colors that like blue and red, and some are just lower energy, some are higher energy, some are urgent.
Yeah. And it's being able to kind of not be that monotone in your voice, depending on if that's what they want, but it's like that excitement, that just that natural, like when someone hears your voice, they're excited instantly.
Yeah, like, come in now to get your free car.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. I just respect what you do. I always, I'm in my 30s, but I'm still just wondering like how I get involved. Mine's more in the cartoons and stuff. Like I like kind of the outrageous voices, high pitched, more of that kind of style. But like that's what I wish I could get in. But when you were growing up, was there like a voice that you heard, whether it be like the news, whether it be the radio, whether it be cartoons, anything that just like you kind of, I wouldn't say mimicked, but you're like, this is the voice. This is the ultimate voice for what I want to do.
Well, I remember the C-Fun good guys like
Yeah.
Red Robinson,
Yeah.
Darryl B., Fred Latchermo, all of them. And there was a guy called Peter Starr from England on CKLG. And all of those guys, I couldn't imagine being on the radio, and I really desired it. So I say to your listeners, go for your dreams. You never know. Just do action, to find out. Like I did some research, like interview research, before I ever got in radio. I remember I was in Duncan and I went into a radio station there and just an informational interview.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, like when I think about like announcers and stuff, and you're just like growing up, I found when you would watch sports, Michael Buffer, right? Like that was the voice. Like that was like, it almost seemed like every other ring announcer, commentator in sport, that's what they were going for. That like just incredible, let's get ready to rumble one liner that could sell you millions and millions and millions of dollars of merchandise, all this stuff, own that copyright. But like when I was growing up, that was the voice.
The guy that I loved, God bless him wherever he is, I'm sure he's up there, Danny Gallivan of the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, he invented words, the spinorama. Like you hear that now, and he originated a lot of stuff. Yeah. And of course, I was a big Montreal Canadiens fan. They're the bottom of the league right now.
Yeah, you guys are like 9 wins or something.
Yeah, the Kraken are ahead of them.
Yeah, they are. Everybody is. We have a member here. If he's watching, I'll make fun of him. Mel, he always makes fun of my Canucks, but this season's a whole nother story. He's just happy if they beat the Leafs. That's all he cares about.
Oh, they just did, didn't they?
They did. They
yes.
Did. And Erin, my wife, is a big Leafs fan, so it's always hilarious whenever they play. Because when even the Canadians being the worst team in the league, he still comes in and brags about it if they beat the Leafs. So yeah, that's a good little feud between those two teams. So yeah, like you sent me a few clips of character, like just different voiceover work that you've done. Can you tell me a little bit about those ones before we can play them?
Well, the first one is a demo. So I took a course by Kathy Weseluck, and it was a voiceover and animation course, and it came with the option of going out to do consultations. And she said, when we started right away, I'm going to get your voice diversified so you don't get stuck in any one. So when you hear that demo, there's different types. And the second one is the stretching, the, going beyond the comfort zone, because in part of that, I'm going to sound like a female, and there's a male and a female in that. And, I used to do this when I see, a female, I can't do that. All I got to do is go a higher register.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I've got great legs. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
The way I see it, this could be worse. How many shoes does one person need in their closet? Can't we just throw out a few dozen? Really? Just too many. Maybe, if we just think like Albert Einstein, we'd get a better idea for a vacuum. Can we all just keep cleaning instead of complaining about the dust and human-induced waste? Please!
She's a total beauty, from under the hood to her leather boots. I'd marry her in a matter of 2 turns of my lug nut wrench. She can start my engine any time. Yeah.
Now, this is no way to deal with things, you old fish. A real man has to show some class, character, and most of all, self-restraint. This is not going to get her attention. But now, this is. Old fish, Who you calling an old fish, you hick? You couldn't get the attention of man if you ran naked across a construction site. You watch yourself, and remember who pays the bills here.
Life is risky, so your investments shouldn't be. At ACIC, our investors have earned 8 to 10% every year the past 7 years. And yet, we offer one of the most secure investments on the market today. A remarkable journey is about to begin. Discover the Whistler Northwind. Experience the renaissance of luxury rail travel as you go where no road can take you. Our custom-built passenger cars offer 180-degree views of ever-changing landscapes through the rugged Pacific coast. The Renaissance Whistler Northwind. Experience the adventure. Come to the grand opening of Discount Flights and Holidays at Kensington Square. Book any travel product in the month of November and you'll be automatically entered to win. The Flight Center. Your opportunity for great deals. Escape the ordinary. Welcome to Maple Ridge's most desirable new neighborhood, the Uplands. Experience luxurious master bedrooms with big bright windows and kitchens even a chef would appreciate. If you want quality carpeting at an affordable price, then Home Depot can help. Introducing Natural Elegance Carpeting from Mohawk. For the feel of luxury carpeting in every way except the price. So come on home to Home Depot. We're first in home improvement.
Did you ever watch any wrestling?
I did the Whipper Billy Watson time and the Eric Froelich. I remember those guys.
Do you remember a guy named Paul Bearer?
No, I don't.
Percy Pringle. That's his voice. You just did it. It was like this high pitched voice, but he was supposed to be a Paul Bearer. He came out with the Undertaker, and he was like creepy, but you actually heard his real voice. It was nothing like that, and that's that versatility of like character work. It's not everybody can do it. Let's just say, like, you have a naturally deep, calming, soothing voice.
Thank you.
Doing that high pitched stuff, being able to switch on the fly and do a reel of both is shows your versatility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I like I said, I love doing cartoon voices and something like real. I realized like why I want to get into it is because I could mimic just cartoon voices constantly, like on the fly. And my kid loves it, but I don't know how to actually monetize from it.
Well, this is how you do it. On cartoon actors, they ask for extra cartoon voice. So I'll go to YouTube and I'm just listening. You get that mindset of how they're sounding. You know, and it takes a few times, but it's possible. You can do it, you know, any accent too that way. I mean, I've got a whole bunch of accents in my bookmarks, and when I was on voices.com that I would go, they want this accent, so go ahead. And then you got to do a normal Canadian voice, you know.
Just very stereotypical for if you're getting casted anywhere but Canada, you got the stereotypical Canadian voice. But I like, what was the first paid gig that you got doing this?
Yes. I was working at Telligence downtown, the adult conversation lines, and they knew I was into voiceover acting. So they had me do, well, this one was free. The first one was free. They had me do an introduction. I'm a guy, you know, introducing it. And I listened to it and I thought, that's not me. Why didn't they do it? And I went home and I listened. Oh, that is me. And I did one more. The credit line thing, the credit card thing. And then I did a third one and I did a survey. And Scott said to me, you realize you're getting paid for this? Oh, no, I'm kidding. So I'll send you the invoice and we'll get you paid. I went back to my desk and I typed a text to him. And he said, did you say 225? He said, yes. So that was my absolute first. And that led to more work because I kept in touch with him. And in 2016, I became the new voice for Megamates. That's another adult conversation line that they own. So every time I would go in, I'd make a certain amount of money that was over $200, over $300. It was nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Taking that passion and taking that what starts off as almost like a side hustle, or just like doing it because you love doing it and getting that first payment. That's like, I love hearing that story from pretty much anyone of my guests. It's just like so many people start doing what they love doing and not thinking that it's going to amount to like any kind of monetization. You're not going to get that far, but I just do this for the love of it. And then someone pays you for it and you realize, oh, I can do this. And if I dedicate all my time towards this, then I'll be much happier with my life doing what I love for a living. It's stressful, obviously, being in control of your own, basically, what you're bringing in as for money. But it's also very just the beautiful feeling when you finally get basically rewarded for something you've actually loved being good at.
Yeah, when it comes in, it's really good. I have some really great clients that actually pay on the right away that same day that they get it. Yeah,
that's a good industry. Like, I think this media is any kind of media is good to get into, and when you get that first paying gig, like we were talking about, like just realizing how much money there is in those industries for something you were already doing for free or paying to do before. Same as like from wrestling on my end. When I first got into it, I was paying weekly for training or going in to use the facilities, and I was happy paying for it. Then I started doing it because I was new, getting no money, but just doing shows and the whole coming up and not making anything from it. Still love doing it. And then getting that money and realizing, oh, every weekend I can make this much as a side gig.
Mhm.
I see why so many people dedicate their full lives to these things. It's like the difference between myself and some of my friends that got big in wrestling was literally taking that leap of faith in themselves in their 20s. And it's like, yeah, I might have to live on a couch for a bit or something and not have, I can't pay my bills very properly, but this is the only way I'm going to grit my teeth and get further in it. I just find that so many different people that are involved with any kinds of media can kind of jump into other types of media pretty easily. You're saying you're doing podcasting too as well, right?
Exactly. That's a lot of fun. Yes, and I enjoy the interviewing. I like the whole process of it. I mean, and of course, some of my BCIT friends, people I went to school with, like Amy Bell, the CBC in the morning. She does the weather and also the how the traffic is going and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then Curtis, 10 years in a row, country personality of the year out in the Abbotsford radio station.
Yeah. It's from what I've talked to people that are in the industry, different radio stations. I have friends that work multiple different radio stations, depending on being producers, just marketing, like different positions. But what they love about podcasting, a lot of those guys and girls, is that they're not held down by who they're working for. They can't go do their podcast and talk anything they want, because obviously whatever you say online can come back to where you work. But you don't have the limitations. You don't have to keep to a certain content. You don't have the time restrictions. You don't have all this stuff. So a lot of those guys and girls just like really enjoy podcasting because it gets whatever they have actually on their chest, off their chest. They can talk about what they're actually passionate about and do what they're good at. I mean, they got the job at these big time channels and stations because of how good they are at it. But it's almost like the further you move up, the less control you have over yourself. Would you say that?
Well, I in podcasting, you got control. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm amazed how it's developed. Now I'm in my second season. I'm glad I was introduced to Carl Richards because he's a podcast strategist, and he's been there for me. He's mentored me, coached me, helped me along the way, and just sometimes I'm sitting at my Mac and email comes in from Carl. Earl, how are you doing? And I can just share with him, and he's been great. Podcast launch made simple and 60 days to launch. I'm glad I took those courses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really, sometimes I'm listening somewhere and hey, they'd make a great interview. Yeah. So I've got a few out there, invites, and I've had, now it's up to 13 interviews, and my 13th is going to go on Monday. A prison chaplain by the name of Dan Bew, clinical counselor, just really interesting guy.
Nice. Do you have a name for the podcast?
Yes. Voice Power.
Voice Power. That's a good one. That's a nice one. How did you come up with that one?
I just think it was really obvious because, there's power in your voice, and whether you are invoicing or in your life, you want to have power in your voice. So people do interviewing. So I've got a thing on interviewing. on networking, on technology, and then the other, all the interviews. I mean, I've got even David Grenier, a comedian from Stand Up for Mental Health, and I've actually done stand-up comedy as well because I took that course. And I've been at Yuck Yucks. I can't believe it. Sometimes I pinch myself of all the things I've done at Yuck Yucks 3 times. We did our grad show there, and I have them on my YouTube channel. And I can one night I just actually opened it. I needed a laugh, and I opened myself up, and I got myself, you think a comedian gets up there and he just spouts off. Well, no, there's a lot of prep.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
I know some people have either do it full time now, actually, or they just kind of tried it because a lot of like wrestling. I'm telling you, that industry just has people that are all walks of life. Like it's a very interesting industry. So many of them have done the stand-up comedy thing. Some of them have flopped big time, and some of them, like I said, do it full time now. Like it's absolutely, but it's one of the toughest gigs you'll ever have in your life because what's funny to you and what's funny to each crowd you have is completely different in every town. Like you don't, unless you're an established stand-up comic, you can't, you can go and do a show in Vancouver, do the same show in Edmonton, it's going to flop. They're different audiences, and people don't realize that not everything is funny to the same people.
Well, yeah, like we did part of the course. You do a debut, and then you do your grad. And both of those, there were segments where I'm not up there with cards. I'm going to do it just from what I remember. And twice, I missed the punchline, and I said, "Oh, it's coming." I got a big laugh from it. On both situations. Fortunately, both times. I remembered the punchline.
Yeah. Well, it's a difficult time for stand-up comics. I think it's it's different audiences, but it's also just it's a very people are very sensitive in different subjects. And it used to be an open ground. It was freedom of speech for comics. They could say pretty much anything they wanted to, make fun of their audience, do what they wanted to, and everybody that came to the show kind of knew that. They kind of understood that. It's a different time now. Guys are getting if someone doesn't like your show, they're getting pretty much could get canceled by certain people or whatever. So it's always been a hard thing to do, stand-up comedy, but I think ultra now. Like it's just you have to watch what you say, but you still have to try to get that laugh. And a lot of cases, that laugh requires some pretty like down from your stomach jokes, if that makes sense. Like just like stuff that some people would get uncomfortable listening to. But.
Yeah, when you bring, I'm not in the course now, but when I would bring material in, how it ended up, because the others in the group, besides the comedian David, how it ended up might be a little bit different than when you started with. A lot different sometimes. Yeah. But it was funny because he knew what funny is.
Yeah, and like everybody has a different funny, but there's just some people that just understand all around funny, right? It's not easy. And there's some people out there that think they're hilarious that would just bomb on stage. So anybody that gets up there too, I respect. We want to do a open mic night here and like talent shows where just people can come in, try things out, because that's our biggest thing here is just like getting people to try what they always wanted to do. Might not become full time, but just try it. I mean, this is an outlet where you can try it and be around people. And yeah, I think like if we did open mic nights, stand-up comedy nights, and people just get up there and try it in front of a small crowd of their peers, and they might find out they're good at it, right?
Yeah.
Where can we find your podcast? What other projects are you working on right now that we can find and figure out what you're doing?
Well, my podcast is on Buzzsprout, and there's a lot of platforms. There's about 13 or 14 platforms, Apple and Spotify. Yeah. Right now, I'm just looking for more work to come in, and I do have an offer. If you want to hear it,
I'll hear it. If you're allowed to say it, I mean,
sure, yes, yeah. I have an offer. Anybody that listens in and names your podcast, and I will give 20% off my regular recording fee.
Oh, nice.
Plus, I will do a boost once that is completed to their complete satisfaction. I will boost it by doing a LinkedIn post, and I have over 900, LinkedIn connections.
Nice.
So yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be awesome. That's something that people definitely would want to take advantage of. I think it's definitely something, having that professional voice in any of your marketing, any of your promotions, any of your pretty much anything. Even like we'll maybe talk in the future about our podcast, because we want to build a catalog of different podcasts here, and obviously a lot of them have those intros and outros of just like talking about what the podcast is about, or who the guest is, or even just the product placements and the ads.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. You're seeing podcasts that don't even have like thousands of listeners, but Spotify and other things have made it so you can place ads in any of your in your podcast, pretty much throughout your podcast, and having someone like you actually sound professional instead of us, like, even sometimes the podcast hosts don't have that voice that basically sells.
Right.
Your voice is a selling point for you. You've made work out of it, and it sells to people. It sounds like just there's so much power behind it that makes sense to your voice, power voice.
Yeah, and to fully answer your question, I have done 50 promo videos.
Yeah.
So I love promoting, people's businesses and getting them better exposure. And I have 42 recommendations on LinkedIn from satisfied clients.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you need any voice work done for your business, for anything that you're doing, also, like, if you're a person who wants to be a guest on our podcast, or even like if you're, what kind of guests are you looking for your podcast?
Well, I've had radio personalities, I've had comedians, I've had podcast strategists, just a variety. I've also had a audio expert,
Nice.
Emma Kutrija. Are you familiar with Idea? And he started Idea. It's a startup.
Yeah.
And I actually have my podcast on Idea.
Oh, nice.
I've got, what is it? That's up to 36 subscribers now.
Wow.
So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome, man. So if you guys need any kind of work done, voice work, this guy's the man for you. I love that voice is so calming to me, man. I honestly, like, it's a great voice for radio. It's a great voice for ads. Yeah, just like listening to your reel too with what you sent me that you've just seen. I definitely just respect what you do. So I thank you for being on today. I thank you for coming out here and being part of PoCommunity. I think you're in, what episode are we today? I forget, 60 something. So
wow.
And you're the third person that we've done out of this studio. So we're just moving on up. We look forward for you to watch it. Should be up in the next couple of days. So yeah, thank you for coming on. And if you guys need any voice work done, Earl's your man.
Yeah, remember this too. I'm Earl Thomas the Voice, creating vocal paradise for your exact needs.